Every boater's got those two mysterious buttons on the throttle, little arrows pointing up and down. You press them, the boat's nose lifts, the ride changes. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. And yet, ask 10 boat owners what's actually happening when they trim their engine. You'll get 10 different answers. Some say it's just for comfort. Others claim it's for speed. But in truth, trim is pure physics. It decides whether your boat fights the water or works with it. A perfect trim angle can make your boat jump on plane faster, cut fuel burn in half, and even add miles per hour to your top end, all without touching the throttle. But the wrong angle? That's what causes porpoising, cavitation, and that sluggish, bow-high slog that makes you feel like you're towing an anchor. Today we're diving deep, not into the water, but into the hidden science behind trim. The angles, the thrust lines, the lift forces, all the secrets the best captains know and the rest of us overlook. So strap in, because by the end of this video, you'll never press those trim buttons blindly again. You'll know exactly what they do and how to use them to make your boat fly. This is trim physics, the secrets every boat owner should know. Let's start with the basics. Trim is the angle between your boat's hull and the water's surface, controlled by adjusting the outboard or stern drive's tilt. When you trim down, the propeller pushes the stern up and the bow down. When you trim up, the prop pushes the stern down and lifts the bow. Simple, right? But that tiny angle change, sometimes just a few degrees, completely transforms how your boat moves through water. Imagine holding your hand flat out of a car window. Tilt it up slightly and it catches air. That's bow. Tilt it down and it slices through. That's trimming in. Your boat's hull reacts the same way to water resistance and thrust. The sweet spot? Where your hull rides just enough on top of the water to reduce drag, but not so much that it loses its stability or grip. That's the art and physics of trim. Now, let's break down what's really happening when you press those trim buttons. There are 4 main forces at work. 1. Thrust, from your propeller pushing the boat forward. 2. Lift, generated by the hull shape as water flows underneath. 3. Drag, the resistance caused by the hull pushing through water. Gravity, always trying to pull the boat back down. When you trim up, the prop angle shifts. Your thrust line moves below the center of gravity, lifting the bow. Trim down and the thrust line pushes upward on the stern, lowering the bow. Every change in trim angle changes how those 4 forces interact. If you get it right, your boat pops onto plane faster, runs smoother, and sips fuel. Get it wrong, and you'll feel it immediately. Porpoising, cavitation, or that sluggish plowing feel that eats fuel and speed. There's a magical moment every boat hits. That split second when it stops pushing through the water and starts riding on it. That's the birth of planing. When your hull finally sheds the drag, lifts free, and starts to glide like it's floating on air. But before that moment, you're in what's called displacement mode. The boat's still heavy, nose up, shoving water out of the way instead of dancing across it. And here's where most boaters lose the game without even knowing it. Picture this: you hammer the throttle, the engine roars, and the bow shoots skyward like an airplane trying to take off. You can't see what's ahead. The wake behind you grows taller, angrier. You're burning fuel, making noise, but barely gaining speed. That's what happens when you trim up too soon. Your prop's fighting physics instead of working with it. Now, flip it the other way. Trim too low, and the bow buries itself like a plow in wet cement. The hull never breaks free from the water's grip. It feels stubborn, like it's dragging an invisible weight. The real trick, the art of it, lies in that tiny transition window between plowing and planing. That's where the skilled captains earn their stripes. They start with negative trim, forcing the bow down just enough to help the hull lift cleanly. Then, as speed builds, they ease the trim up, inch by inch, until the boat rises, levels, and locks into that perfect attitude. When you nail it, you feel it instantly. The hull frees up, the engine relaxes, and suddenly you're flying. That's not luck, that's physics mastered by instinct. Here's where physics meets your wallet. Every degree of trim affects drag, and drag kills both speed and fuel efficiency. When you over-trim, bow too high, the wetted surface area increases. That means more hull touching water, more friction, and more fuel burned just to maintain speed. Under-trim, and you get plowing drag. The hull displaces more water, causing turbulent flow under the keel. Same story, more resistance, less speed. Most boats hit their best fuel economy when trim slightly bow up, allowing the hull to plane efficiently with minimal drag. And you'll feel it. The engine relaxes, RPM drops slightly, and speed increases. That's your trim sweet spot. The moment the boat feels like it's floating on air. Now, let's talk about what happens when trim goes wrong. 1. Porpoising. That rhythmic up and down bounce at speed. Your boat's hull and center of gravity are out of sync. Too much trim up and not enough hull in the water means your bow acts like a springboard. The fix? Tap the trim down until the bounce stabilizes. 2. Chine walking. If your boat leans unpredictably side to side at high speed, that's chine walking. It happens when too little hull is in the water. Again, over trimming. 3. Cavitation. Trim too high and your propeller starts to ventilate, sucking air instead of water. You'll hear the RPM jump suddenly while losing thrust. That's cavitation, and it's brutal on performance. 4. Steering instability. Over-trimming reduces your prop's grip, making steering vague or twitchy, especially dangerous in choppy water. Trim isn't just comfort, it's control. The right trim angle keeps your boat stable, predictable, and safe. Trim doesn't exist in isolation. It's affected by weight balance. Every gallon of fuel, every passenger, every cooler changes your boat's center of gravity. Weight forward naturally lowers the bow, so you may need more trim up to balance it. Weight aft raises the bow, requiring more trim down to maintain a good running attitude. If you're constantly fighting trim buttons, it's often not the motor, it's the load distribution. Shift passengers, move the cooler, or adjust your fuel load. Sometimes that alone fixes half your trim problems. A boat in balance makes trim adjustments predictable, not a guessing game. Here's a common question. What's the difference between trim tabs and engine trim? They work together, but for different parts of the hull. Engine trim changes the angle of thrust. It affects the entire boat's attitude. Trim tabs change the hull's running surface. They fine-tune balance, especially side to side. Think of engine trim as your course adjustment and tabs as your fine-tuning knobs. Running in chop? Trim down slightly to keep the bow slicing through waves. Then use tabs to level the ride if one side dips from wind or load. Calm water? Trim up for speed and efficiency, flatten the tabs, and watch your GPS speed climb. Used together, these two systems make your boat handle like it's on rails. Fast, flat, and controlled. Let's make this practical. Here's how trim should behave in different real-world situations.